Morning once again. First thing I'd like to do is thank you. I know previously I thanked you for being potential jurors and answering the questions that we posed to you. I then thank you very much for being the jurors. What I'm, of course, at the opening statements, what I'm thanking you for now is doing exactly what it is that we knew and you were selected to do. I know I pay close attention. I know Judge Hankson does, as well as Mr. Prince. You all paid close attention to everything that was presented to you, and it's a long, some of it not as exciting as others, but you paid attention to each and everything, and thank you very much for doing exactly what it is that we chose you to do. We literally, again, cannot do this without y'all's participation. As the judge said, I get an opportunity to talk twice. The first thing I kind of like to do is talk a little bit about the jury instructions. I'm not going to belabor these because, of course, they were read to you, but I do want to talk to them a little bit. For first-degree murder, the state must prove that the victim, of course, is dead. There are 4 different counts you have there. The first one is Brandy Peters. No question, she's deceased. The next one is Tamaya Peters. Again, no question, she's deceased. Tanaya Peters, the same. And finally, Javante Segura, no question that element number 1 has been met. So the next question is, was there a premeditated design in killing the particular victim? The judge told you there's 2 different theories, premeditation. There's also felony murder. Let's talk about premeditation. As the judge instructed you, this is the rule. You have it in front of you. You're going to have it back in jury selection, so I'm not going to read it to you again. But the bottom line is, what it says is that there is no fixed amount of time that must occur. In other words, it's a decision to kill somebody, and it can be very quick, or it can be longer. So how does that apply? Question I have, first and foremost, of course, is Brandy Peters. When was it that he decided to kill her? Was it when he got to the house and he brought a gun with him to the house? She was shot 7 to 8 times. 10 projectiles were recovered. They decided to kill her after the first shot. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Remember, this is a revolver. Not a high-capacity magazine, holds 5 to 6 rounds. They decided he was going to kill her when he reloaded that weapon and continued to shoot. They decided to kill her after he dragged her back into the house. Remember, she escaped from the home. She got out the front door. They decided to kill her when he dragged her back in and started beating her. Which hit? He saw all the injuries she had to her head and her hand as she's fighting back. Remember, Dr. Flanagan said she wasn't dead yet, even after that most severe injury in the front. It killed her eventually, but it didn't kill her right away. At one point, they decided to kill. And I would argue, of course, he decided to kill when he brought the gun over there on Friday. Certainly decided when he shot at her 7 to 8 times, 10 times total. And certainly decided to kill her when he beat her to death in the manner in which he did. So next we have Tamaya, when he decided to kill her. This is where we start getting into that felony murder. If a person has a premeditated design to kill one person, Brandy Peters, and attempting to kill that person actually kills another person, that killing is premeditated. So the premeditation actually extends to other individuals and the other persons that are killed. So, when he came over there, did he have an intent to kill Brandy Peters? And if so, that premeditation transfers. And it transfers to Maya when she is shot in the back of the head from close range. Tanaya and Javante, drowned in the bathtub. Dr. Flanagan, 10 to 20 seconds, they were held under that water. 20 seconds, holding those kids underneath the water. And that's after they took the breath of the water in. That doesn't include them just starting to be held under. Pretty conscious decision to kill somebody. Again, this goes back and talks about that felony murder that was talked about. We don't have to prove that he actually was premeditated and intended to kill those kids when he came over there. Can be felony murder. While in committing one murder, he actually does a second, the third, and the fourth. So we met that particular element as well. So now we get to the big question. Of course, this is the one, of course, up to this point, I don't think there's any disagreement from anybody. The big question is, how is the state proven that Henry Segura did this? And what you have to do is use those tools that we talked about in jury selection. You have to use your common sense. You have to use your education, whatever level that is. You have to use those experiences in life that you use each and every single day in dealing with the disputes that you deal with, co-workers, family members, things along those skills that we do. And look at the evidence as a whole and what that evidence tells you about this particular case and Henry Segura's culpability. Let's talk about it. Who has the motive, who has the means, and who has the opportunity to commit this murder? Because that's what law enforcement looks for. That's what everybody should look for. Who has the motive, the means, and the opportunity? Motive. Typically, you're talking about a love relationship type situation. Money is involved. Things along those lines in a typical situation. So what do we know? We know that Henry Segura owed child support to Brandy Peters. Child support's child support. A lot of people owe it. Mr. Peters actually, Mr. Segura already was owed child support on another child living in South Florida. But in this particular case, it's not only the child support. She's sending him and she's actively pursuing it. He's trying to get a job in Afghanistan. Now keep in mind, he's always talking to the other baby mama and saying that in that situation, he keeps asking her to take her off child support. Take me off child support. I can pay better. Take me off child support. That's what she told you. Brandy Peters isn't having any of it. She keeps hitting him with the stuff. Standing in his job, he's got a 6-figure job awaiting in Afghanistan if he can get that visa, but he can't. Ms. Peters is threatening him. I'm going to put you in jail. I'm going to take you to IRS. I'm going to have all these liens against you, garnish your wages. She's taunting him. Sending him text messages. He's forwarding it on to his wife. Keep in mind, it's 11/16 of 2010. 3 days before the murder, this taunting is occurring. And also remember the main difference between this one and the one in South Florida. He didn't think Javante was his. Petitions the court back in June. Strong evidence to support the kid is not his. Continues on. July 22nd, 2010. Not my child. So now we've got Brandy Peters doing what she's doing, taunting him, sending these letters for a child that he doesn't think is his. And 4 months later, after he files that petition, they're all dead. Timing is everything. So is there motive? Certainly. So next we turn to means. Who's got the means to do this? Who's got the strength to do that aspect? Who's got the anger to do those beatings in the manner that they were done? Who's got the strength to use a weapon in order to cave in her skull? Who's got the weapon? Big guy, welder. Deals with a lot of stuff that he has to do and carry things around. Metal, that's what welding does. Strong guy. Certainly has the anger and the frustration with Brandy Peters. Further, Calvin Moore, friend of his, lifelong friend of his, has previously seen him with a .32 caliber gun. Of course, the weapon that was used and shot in the house with 10 recovered projectiles is a .32 caliber. When do coincidences stop being coincidences? So he's seen him with a .32. He knows it's a .32. He's Army. He also does firearms. He knows it's a .32. And he described it. The weekend before, Miss Wilcoxon told you it's the week of the Classic. Classic is in November. The weekend before, he asked Tyra Wilcoxon for a gun. I need a throwdown gun. I need your gun. Doesn't want to use his own gun. Asked her for a gun. Can't find one. He has to use his own gun. And then finally, opportunity. When was the murder? Who had access to the house in order to commit the murder? Because remember, this is not a forced entry. Nobody kicked the door down. Nobody pried the door open. Nobody picked a lock. This person walked in the front door. Who was there at the time? And now we start looking at cell phones. And y'all have heard a lot about cell phone analysis. You've learned a lot about cell phones and cell phone analysis over the course of time. Some of it gets boring, some of it's kind of interesting. But what do we learn? This cell phone, and we saw everything earlier about how much Brandy uses her cell phone. This cell phone stops working the last time she touches it. It's 6:53, and it goes off the grid forever at 8:21. Never charged again, never used again, never even is able to receive something because it's completely and totally off the grid, which is inconsistent with everything in the weeks leading up to this in the cell phone records of Brandy Peters. What does that tell you? Ladies and gentlemen, this tells you right here that these are the time periods. This is when we're talking about that the murder occurred. Because she no longer had the ability to plug her phone back in if it had died. She no longer got the ability to turn it back on if it had been shut off. One of the things, of course, your jury instructions say is you must consider the evidence and weigh it and compare it to the other evidence in the case and the other testimony in the case. Archeron Timmons. Archeron Timmons says that I went over there and I saw him I saw him eating when I came home from school. They were eating Burger King. It was around somewhere between 4 and 5. And then I was sent over there to get him for the oxtail soup at around 5:45. No. Is that consistent with the other evidence in the case? The autopsy, the food content. Can't really give a firm time period of how long it was before they ate. There's different things that make up. Soup digests different than hard substantive food. But what we know is within a couple of hours of eating, they're dead. That 6:53, that 8:21 is consistent with them eating soup around 5:45 and eating more substantive food between 4 and 5 o'clock in the evening. So who was there at the time of the murders? Henry Segura, Interview on November 20th, 2010. The day after the homicides occurred, the day they were discovered. I was home all day long. I was home all day long. We now know that not to be true. So why lying to law enforcement? To cover up an affair? After you just found out your son's dead? November 30th, 10 days later, he lied 23 times in that video alone. 23 times in that one alone. No, I was home. He goes farther than that. Check my cell phone. My cell phone say I'm at home. He challenges law enforcement. Check my cell phone. I'll tell you I was exactly where I said I was. Okay, what's your phone number? 509-4380. You have any other phone numbers? Yeah, I've got a home number. Here it is. Does it do? 509 number, 509 number, says he was home. Just like he said he was. Setting up his alibi. That's why he left the phone at home. But they asked. Doesn't tell him about that 408-8669 number. He tells them that belongs to a friend of his, Silas Thornton. They confront him about that 8669. We know you have a second phone. Oh yeah, but I got rid of that long before Brandy was dead. Okay, never tells him what the actual number was. He just says I had a second phone and that I got rid of it long before Brandy was dead. Again, not true. Law enforcement officers say, hey, we know for a fact you were on that phone on Monday. He just looks at him. You have these videos back there. Just looks at him. Doesn't know what to say. Caught in a lie. At that point, does he come off and say, you know what, I've lied to you? Sorry. Trying to not mess up my marriage. I apologize. I was at her house. I had sex with her. Nope. Doesn't say that. Doesn't say that in any way, shape, or form, and continues to maintain, nope, I was home all day. And of course, what the analysis of that second phone is, he was not home all day. That where he was consistent with being at Brandy Peters' house. They did the analysis. They did a scientific test. They get a known control cell phone, and they go out and they do data sessions at different locations at different times to compare them. Same phone, same carrier. And the information they got when they stand in Brandy Peters' living room is the exact same information that they got from that 408-8669 number. And what it says is that Henry Segura was there when her phone stopped communicating, when she stopped being able to communicate with her phone, when she was murdered. So they go back and they get further analysis. Now they look at the text analysis. And even that says he wasn't home where he said he was. These are the text messages from his wife. Call me back. Answer the phone. I need to stay late. Can't depend on him. Can't get hold of him. He's not using his phone. Keep in mind, this is 8:15 at night and she's still texting him, saying, where are you? You're not here. Why? Because he's at Brandy Peters' house killing her and the kids. But when they go back and look at the cell phone analysis in Henry Segura's phone, mysteriously, these phone numbers and these text messages that would contradict his alibi have been deleted. Got rid of the evidence. Every one of them. Remember what we were saying. Part of the motive was the taunting, the harassing that Brandy Peters was doing. Those text messages. But guess what else is gone from his cell phone? He's not hiding these from Malika like he says, because he forwarded them to her. What he did was he got rid of them off his cell phone because they were evidence against him. Deletes them. Defense hires John Sawicki, cell phone analyst. Comes in, says, yeah, the TBD's right, and clearly was not home. He reports his finding to defense. Nothing wrong with the analysis that TBD did. Reports it to defense. And what do they realize? Realizes that November 20th and November 30th statement of I wasn't there isn't going to work. Can't say that anymore. Keep in mind, Henry Segura sat through the trial, listened to each and every piece of evidence, was given every piece of evidence over the 8 years since his arrest, had an opportunity to go through it all. So what does he know? He knows that his claim of I'm not there and his alibi of being his home, the one that he set up by leaving his phone at home, isn't going to work. And enter stage right, James Santos. Lo and behold, years after this occurred, 2016, he's been previously interviewed 2 times, denied any involvement in the homicide. The state's handed a typewritten affidavit from James Santos in which he now declares that Angel Avila was hired by him to kill Brandy Peters and the kids. The only typewritten statement he's ever made. Everything else you've got is handwritten. To paraphrase William Shakespeare in Macbeth, Santos is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more, is a tale told by an idiot full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. That sums up what Mr. Santos is. Mr. Santos, again, through the only typewritten statement he's made provided to the state by the defense, says Angel Avila, I hired to kill him. This is after there's a hearing in which Angel Avila's named. Later on, 2017, there's another hearing at the beginning of August in which Mr. Paramore's name comes up at that hearing. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, there's another letter, handwritten this time, from Mr. Santos saying, oh yeah, by the way, the other guy I hired was Mr. Paramore. You've got an evidence report by Dr. Hudson. Yes, you have 2. You have one that was done on August 1st, which the defense introduced. And then shortly thereafter, on August 3rd, he's handed additional documents by his attorney and says, whoa, I need to go back and readdress this now that I've reviewed those other documents. The state didn't have a hand in this. And what he says, and I'll just read some of it, whereas he is competent to testify, Mr. Santos reports he was born in Nigeria. His mother is Nigerian, and when he got off a plane in Chicago, all of a sudden he was a vice lord. He reports that he has an 18th grade degree from Las Vegas University. Never heard of such a thing. 18th grade degree. Contacts his mom. Mom's like, nah, he was born in Georgia. I don't know what he's talking about. The profile reveals significant immaturity, narcissism, grandiosity, resentment of authority, and repressed hustle and anger. Was consistent with a delusional disorder of grandiose type. It is my contention, this is from Dr. Hudson, it is my contention that the inconsistencies in his grandiose claims across time and context can be best explained by a history of deceitfulness and indicated by repeatedly lying, use of alias, this has been confirmed, and conning others for his personal profit or pleasure. He has a delusional disorder of grandiose type and is consistent with prominent narcissism and antisocial personality traits. And remember, Dr. Dela Cruz, his expertise that is derived from his deceased brother and his paperwork that was destroyed, he's being peer reviewed on Google Academic. All of that is based upon James Santos and his testimony. And I would certainly argue to you that James Santos is untruthful. What he's talking about, it just defies logic. He even admitted on the stand that his associates in Nigeria were the people that were sending the emails out and offering me money in loans. He agreed to anything. So what they know is that Mr. Segura's prior testimony or his prior statement to law enforcement that he was there isn't going to work. And he has to come in and explain that to you, and he does. And he takes a stand, and now he's saying, oh yeah, I was actually there. I was there to have sex. Has to. No other option. But what you got to see is a true Henry Segura. The man that gets frustrated and snaps and gets angry. Snaps at Judge Hankinson. I'm a grown man. Imagine what he would do to Brandy Peters if he's willing to do that here in court while he's on trial for murder to Judge Hankinson. Just like everybody else, you have to look at Henry Segura's statements, compare them to the other pieces of evidence that are out there, and how they line up with that. And I would certainly argue with you when you do that. Not only did he lie to law enforcement on those days, but he also was untruthful to you here in court. But let's not forget one other thing. Henry Segura is locked up in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City. Not Tallahassee Democrat. Not WCTV. Prior to any big television aspect here, this is 2011. He's locked up with a guy named Kelsey Kennard. Now Kelsey Kennard's a snitch. He's a jail snitch, no question about it. He doesn't try to benefit himself. He thinks his plea deal is that if there's anything he becomes knowledgeable of anything that's criminal, he has to tell people. Thinks it's part of his plea deal. Whether it is or not, doesn't matter. And what does he tell you? He says, while I was there, I told Henry not to talk to me because I'm a snitch. Don't talk to me, dude. Well, he did. And what Henry Segura tells him is he killed 4 people. Is that statement from Kelsey Kennard consistent with the other pieces of evidence? Well, we know there's 4 people that were killed. Told him that on occasion he wakes up screaming, nightmares. Does he have nightmares of what happened on that day? Beating her to death, drowning 2 kids? Wouldn't make sense. Said he killed his baby mom because of child support. She wouldn't take him off of it. We know that to be true as well. Again, this is Oklahoma City, federal prison. Says he hit a gun in a car. Is that consistent with any evidence? Well, there's a text message. Come get this car. Remember, this is 3 days after the homicide. 3 days after the homicide. Come get this car, I want it gone. He doesn't even have to give you any money for it. This is the guy that only had $100 and something in his account when he made that withdrawal. This is the guy that can't pay child support. This guy supposedly was out of work for however long because of a bullet wound he had in another gunfight. Yet he wants rid of a car for no money. And what else do we know about this text message? Just like every other piece of incriminating evidence against him that was under his control, it's deleted. How is it proven that Henry Segura did it? He's arrested in Minnesota. Had the conversation, I'm not going to play the whole jail call, but the entire conversation he's having with his wife about this. She says, I've given up my life for you. And what does he say? Looking like I gave up my life for you as well. After he's just been arrested for homicide. And these kids. After he's just been arrested for a homicide in which that he had actively communicated with her about the frustrations of having to take child support of a child that he did not believe was his. He makes a statement, it looks like I gave up my life for you. After carefully considering each and every piece of the evidence as a whole, and putting it in context and comparing it with the other pieces of evidence, leave out James Santos because he's unreliable in every way, shape, and form, and all the things that are derived from James Santos's testimony, because it is in fact unreliable based upon everything that you heard. He's previously confessed to multiple murders. They didn't do. 2 of them didn't have bodies. 1 of them he couldn't have done because he was in prison. And when you do this and you compare it, and you cannot change what happened here in court in the testimony of Mr. Segura and his reasons for making that testimony, because he was dead to rights on his motive, or on his alibi blowing up. And when you take all of that and put it in context, he is guilty of killing Brandy Peters, Tamaya Peters, Tanaya Peters, and Javante Segura. Thank you.
Take 15 minutes, let the jury step out. Either side needs.